I heard you, Jonathan, earlier today say something, and I wanted to ask you about it. I wanted to pick your brain because that's what we're doing here. What better than to further the discourse than to ask you straight up? So you said, when asked, what lesson have we learned with Baker Mayfield? Ken asked that in the morning. I was a little snake bit. I honestly was trying to think because I know there are so many cautionary tales, and I don't want to overreact to the Sam Darnolds of the world, Geno Smiths of the world, because I know for them, and obviously Baker, for them, there are hundreds of quarterbacks who are just bad and then always will be bad. You said you got to give these young quarterbacks 4 years. Do you mean first round, second round?
No, not across the board 4 years. It's not. I don't think that's. No, that's not right. What I meant in this situation is somebody that's shown you that they can be a 10 to 15 in the league. That guy deserves. That guy deserves a little bit more runway. Like if you're Caleb Williams, for instance, you're in Chicago, and Caleb just continues to suck and looks like it's going nowhere. Maybe it is a bad fit between him and Ben Johnson. Maybe they don't work. But you've had two different coaches now. You've been through two different systems. I'm gonna bet it might be a Caleb Williams issue. And so if that's the case, and you want to cut bait, okay, fine. You have to live with it the same way the Bears did with Justin Fields if he goes to another team and then all of a sudden starts to perform or looks something competent. But no, after year 4, when you're at 10 to 15 and you tell your fan base you think you might be 10 to 15 and then you cut bait, that to me is too premature.
Okay, I actually agree with you because I could sit here and name all the guys that only got 2 years, 3 years, and a bunch of second-round picks too that obviously would prove that they were not on the right path. I guess the one confusing one, and we might see him in a few weeks, is Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, obviously there were surgeries and there was a big back issue and he was horrible in the locker room, but he was absolutely a top 10 quarterback, and at times people were making the argument top 5. Obviously Deshaun Watson is another one. Those are outliers. We certainly know what happened to both of those. But, we all live this. Nick, were you in Cleveland at the end of the Baker run, or were you already in North Carolina?
I was still in Charlotte screaming for the Panthers to trade for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Lima, I was telling Nick earlier today, like one of my big memories was because the station at the time was very mixed with Baker, but it was more anti-Baker than pro-Baker. And I was on the pro-Baker campaign. I remember doing a 6 o'clock hour with Bull, where I told him that I thought Patrick Mahomes versus Baker Mayfield was going to be our generation's Brady versus Manning.
There's still time.
And I remember like it was as if I had told him that. Well, I'm not going to say what I want to say there, but the point is he was accosted by that idea. He didn't love it at all.
So there's no doubt this has been an amazing story. I am somebody, you said, why won't people just admit they're wrong? I was wrong. I didn't think this was the Baker that was in Cleveland. I thought, obviously, before the injury, he had a chance to be really good. He then got injured. We know we don't have to litigate every single day. I do think there's some revisionist history with fans. Once the Browns made the offer to Deshaun Watson, there were a lot of fans when he declined and then Baker said, tough, I'm out of here. There were a lot of fans who were not happy about that with Baker. I think there was a roller coaster of emotions. I think a lot of people have had very complex views on Baker that have spanned a lot of different categories. I think there are people who are in on Baker and in my mentions about how wrong I was that were also at times hating Baker. I think there are the Baker bros who are always 100% Baker, and right now they're right. They were horribly wrong when he was in Carolina. They were wrong when he was battling with Kyle Trask, and it looked like he was going to be an afterthought and one step out of the league. I think the national media is actually getting it more accurate about the story of Baker than locally. Because last night, Joe Buck was perfect. He said exactly what it was. He didn't blame the Browns. He didn't sit there and dwell and say, well, it's because they didn't draft him. No, he said he bottomed out. He was injured. He was in need of a contract. They were trying to upgrade. And we got to remember, Joe Burrow had just gone to the Super Bowl. So not only had you had Mahomes, you had MVP Lamar, you had Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl, it kind of looked hopeless for a 10th, 11th, 12th, depending on the season, maybe 8th, Baker Mayfield, who then slipped and bottomed out, played his worst football. That was not all his fault. I did, at the time, I remember, I went off on his representation. I said, man, if I was Baker Mayfield's agent, I could have saved him a lot of money because I would have just had him sit the rest of that year and not force him to play through that injury. Instead, he was determined to play through it. we couldn't have any adults in the room, and that includes Kevin Stefanski, a room in San Diego, and Paul DePodesta and Andrew Berry to say this is not smart. Like, why are we having him do a prove-it situation when his arm is messed up, his shoulder is messed up, and we don't know how good this is going to get? And things steamrolled. He ended up having other injuries. It just submarined on everybody. And then he became a problem in the locker room. That wasn't just his fault, but you got to remember, I mean, the reporting was there. Mary Kay had it that, Myles Garrett wasn't happy with some of his shenanigans behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So it was a locker room divided. Jonathan, you asked, could they have salvaged it? And I always know when we're asking that question, we're probably past the point. Same thing with Kyrie. I asked that question. I said, can't we salvage this? And people close to that situation said, no, it's over. There's too much contempt, and they're not going to get past it. We will always wonder, what would Baker have been that following year? He was miserable in Carolina. What would he have been in Cleveland had he have come back? And that, to me, is the biggest mystery of all, because had he have been bad that year, they would have moved on from him anyway.
Yeah, once he stopped taking calls from Haslam and Stefanski, it was a big problem, and it probably wasn't going to be redeemable. All right, I got to ask you though, Lima, because here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping as you meet Cedric Tillman or have conversations with Cedric Tillman today at the Verizon store, that Cedric is actually in a car right now and he's listening to us talk on the radio. And so I want you to just be as honest as you can, and hopefully it's uncomfortable for you guys in like a half hour or so. Is Jerry Jeudy? Where's your concern level for Jerry Jeudy?
Look, it all starts with him. If he's not going to be a number one wide receiver, and I'm not talking like top five, like Malik Neighbors, I've been saying for 3 years, I think most people with eyes, regardless of quarterback play, were like, oh yeah, Malik Neighbors can be one of the best wide receivers in the league. And you've already seen it to start the season. Doesn't really matter who's throwing the football. He's amazing. I never had Jerry Jeudy at that level, but holy cow, when he had his coming out party for us against Denver, where they just let him go up and down the field and there was no stopping him. Granted, it was a loss. And to me, I wondered, was that going to be the epitome of his career? Like, flashes at times, looks like a dominant number one, but never wins because they lost that game. And we're always going to be asking what if of a former first-round draft pick. He's really good. Everybody talks about how unbelievable he is being able to get open, and you can tell they are locked on him, both the offense and the defense they play against, on third downs. And if he's not going to play like a number one wide receiver, forget it. Then I commented over the weekend, they have one of the bottom 5 wide receiver rooms in the entire NFL. If he is not performing like a number one, they might have the worst wide receiver room in the NFL.
Lima, great stuff, my guy. Appreciate you, and enjoy Cedric Tillman and the amazing North Olmsted Verizon store today.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right, come out and see us. Come out and see the street team. Come and upgrade your phone line. Get an autograph from Cedric Tillman. Say hello, and we're excited to see you out in North Olmsted off Brook Park Road at Verizon. We'll see you guys.
All right, buddy. Lima there on the fan hotline, and again, 6 to 7 p.m. tonight. Cedric Tillman's going to be there. Chance to win a $1,000 Samsung gift card. And all through September 18th, stop by one of the participating Verizon stores and hunt for the Dog Pound XL logo hidden inside to win a Dog Pound XL logo prize, I should say. One thing I don't think we accounted for in going back to the old offense, there was like 3 guys that might have benefited from the switch to the Deshaun offense last year. Jerry Jeudy was one of them. Maybe we should have calculated whether Jerry Jeudy was going to be good in this offense, because he's not the only receiver that has significant talent that we've seen struggle within this. There was a guy named Odell Beckham Jr. that chafed at the on-schedule throws as well.
There's just a part of me that's hoping that Cedric Tillman is on his way to the Verizon store, and then he hears Lima say what he had to say, and then is like, wait a second, I got to spend an hour with this guy? This guy's just he's gonna rip our number one wide receiver? But right now, Jerry Jeudy's not playing like a number one wide receiver.
Yeah, I think it's because has got a quarterback that's playing like number 2.
Well, so he's had a lot of drops, though, and so there's part of me that wants to put this on Flacco in many ways, but there is parts of me that is like, well, all right,
how many? John Legend. There's part of you.
Yeah, part of me, exactly.
Loves all of you.
Sure. But like I can't let him completely off the hook. No one had more drops in the NFL last season than Jerry Jeudy. As big as the numbers were, as prolific as his numbers were last year, he still dropped the football a ton. It's always going to be an issue with him. But right now, it's leaning more like what you saw at the end with Denver than what it was last year.